Hello, everyone. This is Amy Green with Cirrus Insight. I see we've got quite a few folks still joining, so we're going to give it a minute so that everyone can get into the Zoom, and then we will get started. Good afternoon, everyone, or morning, wherever you're located. We are excited to have all of you joining us today for our Meeting AI Research webinar. We're excited to be able to show you the fun new application that we have in a live form. Some of you may have attended the webinar that we did back in the spring where we had some prototypes in place and we were showing the workflows of Meeting AI, and Pete and Mike are joining us today to give you a live look at that. But before we do that, we're going to go through a couple of housekeeping items before we jump in. This event is being recorded, so all of you who have registered for the event will receive an email with the link to the recording, so feel free to share that with colleagues and friends. There also will be a Q&A provided throughout the entire duration of today's session. So if you'll take a moment to locate the Q&A module of the Zoom webinar platform, that is where we will answer and take all of the questions that you have for us today. We will be answering those as they come in, and also we'll have a Q&A portion at the end. If we don't get to your questions, we will have someone follow up with you and be happy to talk further about any questions that you have. So I'd like to introduce the team that you have on the call today. Myself, Amy Green, VP of Sales and Marketing. Really excited to have all of you here. We also have Mike Baldwin. He's our VP of Product Engineering. He's going to be taking us through some slides and digging into some further information about our AI vision and strategy. And we have Pete Trofeter. He is our product manager, and he's going to be taking us through some live use cases and a demo of the new Meeting AI toolset. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Mike. He's going to kick us off further through the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. So just to tee things up front here, and by the way, thank you to everybody for taking the time to join us today. We're very excited about Meeting AI and this first component specifically around pre-meeting research, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But up front, I wanted to share the preview program that we currently have running for Meeting AI, and certainly encourage anyone who's interested in the solution to go ahead and sign up for it. It's not a commitment. It is literally just getting access to the product ahead of our general availability timeline. So there's no cost, there's no commitment. If you have feedback, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts about what you're seeing and how to maybe what you'd like to see in the future, definitely, we're wide open to all of that all the time. But it's not a requirement. So feel free to join at the link there, or the QR code will just take you to a quick form if you're interested to sign up. And if you're not, that is okay as well, but we'd love to have your feedback. So to to start off, just and if you've been on other Cirrus Insight webinars this year, you may have heard us talking about the concept of meetings drive revenue. We like to reiterate it. It's a fundamental part of our solution vision, and it's going to be driving our roadmap for the foreseeable future. The concept really is around, in the world of B2B relationship-based long cycle sales, which I recognize may not be the world that everybody is in, but I think this applies fairly universally. So filter it as you like, but specifically in the world where relationships are driving the sales cycle, that meetings are a fundamental part of that. They're a critical vehicle for communication and decision making. And it's not that there aren't other types of communication vehicles. For sure there are. And meetings themselves can take different kinds of forms, whether they're on the phone or in person, or a Zoom or video conferencing kind of format. All of those count, right? The point is that it's a real-time communication a conversation that's happening between buyer and seller and other stakeholders. That it's really at this moment in time a sort of irreplaceable component of the sales cycle of getting to close, and then also post close getting onboarding and getting the buyer company ramped up and using the solution effectively. So we think about the concept of meetings as really being fundamental to the direction of the solutions that we produce. So hence meeting AI, which is, as it sounds, an AI-assisted, AI-driven solution for really end-to-end management and facilitation of the full meeting cycle through, again, everyone from prospecting to full onboarding. So if you think about, and I'll kind of highlight which pieces of this we're going to talk about today, um, as a complement for other existing Cirrus Insight solutions that we already offer around sales enablement, sales acceleration, scheduling, top of the funnel prospecting, through casting as wide a net as possible, and providing as efficient and pleasant an experience for your prospects, for your buyers as they work their way through the funnel, through the scheduling mechanism, in the meeting cycle itself, which obviously the meetings will take different shapes and sizes, different types of formats for different needs. But there's typically going to be before the meeting preparation phase, so pre-meeting, post-meeting, follow-on activities and to-dos, and then during the meeting itself. So how do you make sure the meeting is kept on track and that it's meeting, no pun intended, but that it's meeting the needs, the requirements of all those that are in attendance, so that it's mutually valuable and not skewed to one side, and that's not wasting anyone's time. You're getting the most efficient, effective meeting possible and keeping that cycle moving forward to the next step in the cycle. Which is going to give you the best chance of closing deals, closing the most deals and the most well-suited deals, and then obviously driving sustainable revenue growth. So that is the vision for meeting AI kind of end to end. What we're going to be focusing on with this first solution, which is a pre-meeting research, pre-meeting preparation component, that's going to live primarily in the pre, but it also works immediately together with our existing scheduling solutions. And I'll talk about that on a slide coming up. Wanted to spend just a moment talking about the problem here that we're trying to solve. And I'll try to go through this quickly, by the way. We're conscious that we've got only half an hour. But the core problem around pre-meeting research is, number one, the criticality of being prepared for the meeting. So I like to tell our team here internally, immediately put yourself in the shoes of not our customers, but their buyers. What is that buyer experiencing? What are they trying to go through? If you've ever been through a buying purchase process on your own, which I suspect many of you have, and we have too, we do them all the time, that you're, at the outset, you're faced with sort of a universe of options, possibilities, and the fastest you can get that whittled down to what you're confident in to be really the best qualified shortlist, the better, right? Which means that the sooner you can start filtering out noise or vendors who might not be a good fit, vendors who might be wasting your time, that the better your process is going to be. So if you think about it from that perspective, the better that you as a seller, or the more prepared that you as a seller are going to be able to be showing up to that first meeting, that first discovery meeting, so critical that that buyer, just realize that buyer might be looking for a reason to filter you out, right? So the more prepared you can be showing up to that meeting, the better your chances of moving forward to the next meeting. It's got to be a high impact, high value meeting, or you really run the risk of not moving it forward at all. High stakes meeting upfront. Every meeting in the sales cycle can arguably be high stakes, but really those first few, or when you're kind of trying to get through that series of filters, are critical. And if you're doing a lot of these as a seller, that you may not have time to really adequately prepare, right? You may sort of generically prepare, but if you're trying to best understand the account and the contact, the person and the company, that typically it requires a lot of manual steps to go out to the web or to other internal systems that you might have and try to collect and organize and mentally process, consume different types of data from different places into a cohesive story. And then how do you align that with the solutions that you offer, the products or services that your company offers, and tie that to what you think that buyer is going to be looking for, and how do you best tell a story that's going to align with their expectations. So that's a lot, especially if you're doing a higher volume of these calls or a higher volume of sales. So what we find, unfortunately, is that a lot of times the research doesn't get done, or it gets done sort of partially. Maybe the data gets collected, but it's incomplete. So, when you do that, you're just putting yourself at risk of that first meeting being the last meeting, and that's not really what anybody wants. How do you build that reputation, right? It's a relationship-based sale. So how do you give yourself the best chance of strengthening that relationship up front? So I'm sure we've all sort of experienced some a level of that on either side of the coin. So let's talk about Meeting AI as a solution. What Meeting AI is doing is automatically collecting and organizing, summarizing, presenting, delivering data that's going to be relevant to a meeting. And so what we're doing, and Pete will show a little bit more about how the product actually functions, but we're looking at the email addresses of attendees on a given meeting, and being able to match the domain with the company and the email address with the person who works for that company. So we identify who the person is, and then collect information from public, private, and potentially proprietary sources in the future, as well, to be able to pull together a cohesive view of who the attendees, who the company is, and who the attendee is. And then from there, we can start to draw inferences around how their needs might align with your product set. So the I guess key points I want to try to make here around the value of this is the speed. So a couple options around delivery. So there are options for manual or automated. We sort of default to the automated, so you don't have to rely on a salesperson remembering to run the research, but we just run it for you. As soon as the calendar appointment appears on your calendar, we go out and get the information, hands off, hands free, no steps required, and that it's immediately there for them to consume, either in a sort of summary view or in detail, to look at it in a dashboard kind of setting, or to receive it via an email as the delivery vehicle. So lots of different options for how and when the data can be consumed by the seller. But the point is that they don't have to take any steps to do it, and that it's going to be there for them and organized in a way that is easily digestible for them to be best prepared for the meeting. It's also the same process for everybody on the team. So if you're looking to establish sort of a standard, a level of standard of preparedness for your sellers on your team, that this is a good way to do that. So I'll just show some quick screenshots, and then I'll turn it over to Pete for showing the actual product. This is a view of what we're calling our calendar dashboard. This is it's specific to Meeting AI at the moment, but there's some redesign. There's actually core design elements in here that we will very likely eventually standardize across Cirrus. So don't be alarmed that this is a completely new UI. They will be integrated and merged. But you can see here in this view that there's both the blue meetings are researched, the white meetings are unresearched. I could look at this in a week view or a day-by-day view. Like I said before, manual option, but automated default. And then easy navigation from here to other Cirrus functionality that you're already familiar with. It is separate right now because we're running the preview program, and it's a new product rollout. So in terms of the research that you get, here you can see an example of both a company results on the left and a person results, so account and contact. And what we're pulling back are at the current state is key demographics, firmographics. So for the company, how large are they? Where are their offices? How many offices do they have? What type of business do they do? Key products and services? What industry are they in? Are there any recent news, financials? If it's a public company, we're able to collect that. So just sort of key shape and size and recent relevant news around the company. On the person side, we'll focus on title, role, work history, and any kind of recent news that's findable. There are sources that, and we're defaulting to two main sources on this right now. One is public web search, so generally available, publicly available data. And then we've also, we'll partner with one or more private data sources to augment and enrich the data that's collected there. But we'll note where the source is. So as a seller, if you wanted to go and verify or you wanted to dig deeper and learn more, that you're able to do that, and it links directly from the page. The sidebar that if you have the Cirrus Insights sidebar installed today, and your team is using that in email or calendar, that we've got an option to interact with Meeting AI right there as well to either generate or research or resend an email. So it's already in the workspace that you're familiar with. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is just the chat, the AI-driven chat, which is really a GPT chatbot kind of function. So if you've used ChatGPT, then you will understand how this works. Natural language, conversational types of questions and answers. So you can use this to dive deeper on the research results that are pulled back. You can create new artifacts, new documents, like here in this example, we just said write a pre-meeting email, and it's going to construct an email based on the data that it already has about the person, the contact, and the meeting itself. So you can literally refine data and clarify, get questions answered, interact with this in the same way that you would with ChatGPT. Okay, so this is maybe implied in what a lot of what I just said, but this solution, just to clarify, it is an AI-driven solution. It's using artificial intelligence and GPT at a number of different points throughout the process. So everywhere from the prompting, the questions that the solution is asking of the data for the return of the results, pulling data from multiple sources, which we'll touch on maybe a little bit later. But like I said, we're defaulting to a combination of public web search and then some private data sources that we've contracted to. That's not what this is limited to. We can pull in data from a number of different sources that are either private, proprietary. And so if you have a question or if you have data that you'd like to see potentially brought into this engine, please ask or let us know, and we can certainly explore that. But I would say default to sort of sky's the limit on it, because it's built in a way that will allow us to pull in data from multiple sources. The natural language processing, content generation, summarization, organization, delivery, content analysis, and then as we move forward, sort of up the value chain, the suggestion, prediction. So being able to, suggest agenda topics, or in advance anticipate questions that a meeting attendee might have. So pretty exciting stuff to all be sort of originated from an email address. I think we already talked through a lot of this, but yeah, identification of the people and companies from the email address, gathering the information, summarization, delivering it, and then the interactive dashboard experience. And then you see another view here of what this looks like in the sidebar. from our existing calendar interface and an example of a delivery email. So the only thing I want to mention before I hand it over to you, Pete, is the combination of, I would say, the Smart Scheduler, but really any of our scheduling functionality right now. If you think again back to the view of the top of funnel, and whether you're distributing a personal scheduling link or team scheduling, or you're using the Smart Scheduler for round robin scheduling across a team, which is exciting new solution that we introduced earlier this year. Any of those, if they're resulting in a new calendar appointment landing on your calendar, or the calendar of your team, that that in itself can automatically trigger this research being run. So without the seller having to do anything, touch anything, trigger anything, that prospect clicks a link or puts the calendar event on the seller's calendar, that research will run, and now your seller is prepared for the meeting without even knowing previously who it was that they're going to be meeting with. So it's pretty exciting, albeit short piece of the full end-to-end meeting workflow, but pretty exciting initial phase to get that seller prepared for that first meeting. So with that, I will stop talking and I will hand it over to Pete Trofter, who's product manager for Meeting AI, and he's going to show a quick product demonstration.
Oh, great, everybody. Thank you, Mike. All right, so just to set the stage, everyone, I mean, I'm a busy salesperson and I have more meetings than I can prepare for. And most of them are with new clients that I've yet to meet. And so wouldn't it be nice to get a really cool email summary of, research on that client and their company that could potentially take me hours to accomplish during a week? So like Mike said, we will deliver research via email, and it is automated to default, but you do have the option to be able to run research, generate meeting prep from a calendar event, from any calendar event that you want to know anything about. So I can click here on new client meeting, and in the familiar sidebar that most of you are used to, you'll see a generate meeting prep button. I can do this for any event that has at least one external attendee. And likewise, if I go to any email in my account, and let's say that I don't have a meeting set with this person yet, but I don't know really who they are, I'd like to know a little bit more before I reach back out, I can come to any email and click the button in that familiar sidebar. But once that research is generated, whether it's automatic or it's manual from those sidebars, you'll get this email. And why this email is great is because you get some high-level information as well as detailed information. So you do have a choice between selecting a summary email like you see here, or the full research, which would be a much longer email. But what Mike demonstrated earlier is that we now have the ability to give you that full research, not only in email, but in a more organized way and an interactive way, so you can better prep for your meeting. And you can see that those firmographic details and demographic details of the company in the account tab, are summarized by section. We have numbers at the top, so they will correspond with any type of information here with the sources that we've been able to find below. Again, this can be a combination of just public-facing data, private data sources. So, the sky is the limit with the type of data that we can retrieve. In addition, we get information that's critical about the company, but we can also get critical information about those that are in attendance on that meeting. So you can learn a little bit more about their work history, any news that might be related to them. But interacting with this and learning more about your meeting, like Mike said, you can write a pre-meeting email. We have some preset bubbles that you can click, or you can add your own, like summarize this research in 5 bullet points or less. So pretty cool. If I can, live demo, things don't always work, especially when Zoom's involved. But you can generate additional conversations with each event. The even cooler part to this that Mike showed earlier is that not only can you look at single meetings, but you can also see the full list of external meetings on your calendar that have research related to them. In blue, I can click on any of these meetings and I'll be sent to the previous screen, or the screen for that specific meeting itself. Items that are not researched yet, you can actually manually trigger from here. And so these white bubbles means they're not been researched. One click, research is queued up. The other cool thing is that because we're using the Smart Scheduler solution in-house, oftentimes there are meetings that just plop onto my calendar, and that's usually like in the next week. So it's towards the end of the week, I like to get a quick peek into my next week's meetings. And yep, look, I've got a website lead meeting, a new client introduction, and research automatically runs. I'm sent an email and I'm able to view that research immediately. So pretty cool stuff there. So that pretty much wraps up the demo, but yeah, does anybody have any questions? Or Mike, do you want to take back over?
Thanks, Pete. That was a great overview. So we do have a couple of questions that have come through. So I'm going to repeat a few of those in the event that they might be pertinent to the rest of the audience that we have here today. The first question is, what needs to happen in order for a customer to enable Meeting AI? Do they have any prerequisites in terms of the Cirrus solution that they have today in order to enable this? Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to take that. And sorry, I lost my Zoom control because I'm in slideshow mode. Yeah, so because we're in the preview program right now, all that needs to happen is that we enable your org, your Cirrus org, for the feature. And we can do that at org level and also at user level. So we could turn it on for your org, but then restrict it to a certain subset of users. There is no dependency on Salesforce for this. There is no restriction on other environmental kinds of considerations. The only thing that it requires on the user side is access to the calendar. So calendar connectivity, which if you're already using Cirrus, is already there. So we just need to enable the org. And if you tell us that you are interested in participating in our preview program and getting access to that, we can go ahead and do that very quickly.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, and there was a QR code on the presentation that Mike and I shared, and we might be able to bring that screen back up again for everyone. You're welcome to scan that QR code, and that can get you access and at least get you into an inquiry to be able to enable this for your org if you're interested in doing so.
Yep. Apologize for this. All right. Can you see
No
my screen?
worries. We sure can on the product demo slide.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, there it is. So everyone, encourage you to go there, or you can also type in the URL that you see in the screen as well, and we can try to pop that into the chat too if that is helpful for everyone. All right, let's see. It looks like we do have a few other questions here while I'm getting this chatted into everyone. Bring up the next one here. Can I include any of my Salesforce data into the research that's being provided?
Yes, that's a great question. And we actually hear that quite a bit. Obviously, that's where a lot of information, hopefully all information, and hopefully accurate and relevant and recent, is already collected in your CRM and your Salesforce. So as mentioned before, we don't really have technical limits on what data can be brought into the engine, and specifically. We expect the Salesforce integration. So please let us know if you're interested in doing that. We would love to talk with you and make sure that we're working through it in a way that's going to meet all of your requirements. But the short answer is yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So I think we've got time maybe for one additional question. And the other question that we got here is, can I access or view research from Meeting AI through the Cirrus Insights sidebar?
Oh, that's another great question. Yeah, so so as Pete showed, you can currently trigger research from the sidebar. We expect that there's going to be a good amount of value in providing the results in that workspace where the seller is already, the email and calendar. But there's some design, redesign, I guess, reconfiguration of that. So right now, the access, or I guess the access to the functionality is limited to triggering the research and resending the email, but then you'll get the email there. In terms of displaying it in the sidebar, again, if you're interested, please let us know, and we'd love to work through that with you. It is on our minds, but not currently in the product today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike, for taking on those questions. I don't think we have any other open questions at the moment, and I know we are at time. So just want to thank everyone again for joining us today and spending a little bit of your day with us to talk through Meeting AI. We'd love to have each and every one of you click the enrollment link here and to join in on our preview for Meeting AI. And with that, we'll close out today's session and send out the recording to everyone shortly. Thank you so much. And
Thanks,
thanks to
everyone.
Mike and Pete.